My recollection of that first meeting is like you had sold some art,
Mm-hmm.
you had some
Exactly.
success, like there was the promise of more, and now you have galleries reaching out to you.
You can do it. You're an artist, and just own yourself and just be yourself. Just be true to who you are.
Today's guest is a fine artist from the Pacific Northwest. His art captures life's fleeting moments where time slows and beauty reveals itself. He loves those quiet pauses, the golden light, the shifting breeze, the in-between spaces where meaning unfolds. Please welcome to the Inspiration Place, Chris Holt. Hey, Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Miriam, thanks for having me.
So I invited you because I've been working with you in my Inner Circle program for now a full year.
Yeah, it's hard to
Wow.
believe.
What amazing transformation.
Oh, thank you. It's been a complete joy, and my hat's off to you and the team for guiding me.
Let's take everyone back to where you were when you first met me, if you can remember that. And if you can't, I'm going to look it up what you said to me. Some people like they don't remember.
I can't remember.
Like I was talking to someone in Inner Circle. I says, "Well, you know, you made $20,000 in the last 2 months." She goes, "Yeah," and you told me that's all you made last year. She's like, "Oh yeah," like like they seem to forget how far you've come. Take us back to that moment.
That sounds great. Gosh, when I first started with the Inner Circle and everything, I was really just coming out of just a couple of paintings that I had done and a show that I had that was kind of put together very cryptically, the best I could. I really didn't feel like I had ownership of the word I'm an artist. And I just felt I was kind of piecing it together, just band-aiding things together. I wanted to have a trajectory. I wanted to go somewhere with this. I knew I wanted to grow. I knew I wanted to sell more paintings and meet more people and do things in a really just great, robust, professional manner. And that's what has happened. And I'm still obviously in development, but I feel like back then I didn't have as good a grasp of like who I am, where am I going, the faith in myself, kind of the trust that I was able to not only build in myself, but in, my collectors, and just really believing in my art. And now I just feel like full force, like, yep, I love my art. I love where I'm going. I love my collectors. I love my audience, and I want to grow it even more. So it's been a huge transformation, and it's happened incrementally. It just didn't happen overnight, but it just took a lot of hard work.
If you could say what the three biggest levers were in this success. And we
Yeah.
know you're still unfolding. I get that. But we're going to let the audience know like where you were. Like my recollection of that first meeting is like you had sold some art, you
Hmm.
had some
Exactly.
success, like there was the promise of more. And now, fast forward, and I think it's been more than a year because I was just checking. Like your first call with me was like March of
Hmm.
24. Like you joined the incubator and then the Inner Circle. Now you have galleries reaching out to you.
Yeah, it's crazy. That just happened recently where a gallery in Seattle tracked me down through some work that they had seen and then went to my website. And then they went from the website to emailing me. And fortunately, all my email stuff works. And I was able to contact them back and have a great conversation. And I'm now having a show in September, and
Of
it's
this
owed to a
year.
couple of things. Yeah, September this year. Just
Okay.
happened like probably 2 weeks ago. We're talking about. So
Amazing. So, right hot off the presses. And then you were
yeah.
also sharing how you're participating in an auction where people were coming up to you. Like, are you Chris Holt?
Yeah, it was the first time that I'd experienced that where normally I go to this auction, the Gage Academy auction in Seattle, and you just make your way through, talk to the people that you know, and it transitioned this year where there were folks coming up to me and tapping me on the shoulder and asking, "Hey, are you Chris Holt? Is that your piece over there? I've been following you on Instagram. I've been following your email." And it was just amazing to put a face to a name, and some were our artists, fellow artists, which is great. But a lot of them were collectors, just kind of curious and wanting to start a dialogue. It was really cool. So, but yeah, I asked, kind of getting back to kind of what are the things I've learned, the top three
Yeah,
things.
let's talk about the three biggest levers in this success. So that way, anyone listening to the podcast can be like, oh, if I do these three things, this is what's going to make a difference.
I think it's having faith in myself and building trust by being consistent.
Okay,
One of
so
the things that
number
we
one,
talked
you're going to
about,
say is mindset, then. Is that right?
yeah, I
Self
think mine's
trust.
self-trust and mindset. And I think there was something that you had wrote and also we talked about that was about you build that through consistency. You're not only building trust in yourself, but you're also building trust in your audience and your collectors by
Right.
being consistent. In business, they talk about do what you say you're going to do. And that's something that I was very inconsistent at. And now I feel like I'm much better at. Got a little ways to go, but I think that's a huge thing is just, showing up, putting in the work, being consistent, and not being worried about whether or not it's going to be perfect that day. It's really about showing up and trying to maintain a consistent, your plan and putting that into to act. So acting upon your plan in a consistent way.
And I'm
Um,
just going to underline that, really like repeat the lessons for people who maybe have not listened to every single one of my podcasts or haven't read the book. I talk about this in the book, and I talk about it also like during my boot camps, is that the definition of confidence has the word trust in it. Like self-confidence is
right.
about trust in a person or a thing. When people procrastinate and they don't do what they say they're going to do, what happens is they erode their own self trust and confidence. So the more you
Yeah.
procrastinate, the less confidence you have. And then, of course, if you want the opposite, if you want more confidence, the antidote to that is to follow through on what you say you're going to do. So the more you
Yeah.
follow through on what you say you're going to do, the more confidence you build in yourself. And like you said, Chris, the more other people will come to trust you as
Yeah.
well.
And it's self-perpetuating. Once you start to do it, you start to build upon it, and all of those kind of mindsets that say, "Oh, but nobody will buy my art." All of that kind of goes away, and you start thinking everyone's going to buy my art. Why wouldn't they buy my art? Of course, they're going to
Yes,
buy my
of
art.
course.
And that I think people can read that. I think on
They
a
do.
level they read that and they even coming up to you hold yourself differently. You realize that you do have agency and that you are an entity in your own world, and you're not giving away your personal power in a way.
Yeah.
So
We just had a conversation about that in the inner circle. So, the summer inner circle. And we're talking about commissions and how you can't, when you present a commission to a client, you can't be, so, do you want me to change anything? Like you have
right.
to be like, oh my God, I love it so much. I wanted to keep it for myself.
Hmm.
Like that's a
Hmm.
huge difference. And people will pick up on your uncertainty. Like confidence is contagious and uncertainty is also.
Yeah, definitely. I think that people really pick that up very, very quickly. They
Oh,
understand it
yeah.
quickly
On a
from a visceral
subliminal
level.
level.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
So
So,
mindset was number one. And you say you got there by doing what you say you're going to do. Anything else you want to add to that built your confidence?
yeah, I think it would be probably related to the second thing, which is planning ahead. We had some conversations. Planning ahead means for me, I remember we talked about like, well, Chris, let's look at the time. Let's look at this week. Let's talk about this. You're going to build your plan on Sunday, and you're going to look ahead, and let's look at those time slots. And at first I didn't do it. At first I was like, well, yeah, but that doesn't really work in with how I typically do things. Well, duh, that's exactly why it's not working.
Right.
So I
It's
started to
like,
sit down.
I was going to say, when I was in college, I worked for a Weight Watchers camp. I was the arts and crafts teacher there. And I remember them lecturing the kids like about how, yeah, you don't like broccoli. That's what got you where you are now. It's time to like new things, right?
Exactly. What I realized is that it actually helps set me free. So when I sat down to plan, that thing that I do, I don't want to sit down and plan. Well, no, that actually really made things a lot more clear. And part of that was, we've talked about working backwards from a goal, and that you have a goal and then you work backwards and you say to yourself, well, are the actions that I'm taking now enough to get me there? Is that really going to get, like, are the amount of pieces that I'm creating going to get me there? Is my daily ritual going to get me there?
You know what Chris just shared? That showing up consistently and aligning your actions with your goals creates magic. And that's not just mindset, that's a strategy. But what if you don't know what to focus on? Or worse, what if you're pouring energy into work that isn't actually going to sell? That's exactly why I created a free guide called 7 Reasons Why Your Art Isn't Selling, to help you uncover what's holding you back and what to do about it instead. Whether you're feeling stuck, second guessing your portfolio, or just craving clarity, you'll walk away knowing how to curate a collection that sells, build trust with collectors, and position your art to stand out. To get instant access to this guide, go to schulmanart.com/shine. Again, that's schulmanart.com/shine, SHINE. Okay, and now let's get back to Chris.
All of that stuff, and you have to ask yourself that. And when I was doing that, and I was doing it as far as planning ahead, not only it said, yeah, you're going to get there or not, and I course corrected, and I'm even course correcting today. I'm constantly looking at it, thinking, okay, yeah, can you really do that many pieces? Is that, if I sell them at this price, will that get me what I want revenue wise? Will I get the number of followers? Yeah, the math, exactly.
Sometimes it is math. It's not just manifestation and law of attraction. Like, you can have the best mindset, but if you want to sell 10 artworks and you only have 3, not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I forget where I heard this, but it was something about, if you're a plane and you're going to take off in Los Angeles and you want to end up in New York City, the trajectory matters big time. How are you pointing yourself? And the way that you're pointing yourself is by planning and by looking at the map and thinking incrementally, well, I'm going to fly over these cities to get to New York City. So I better incrementally know, that route along the way. I think that's been a big factor, is just kind of planning ahead. That's going to then dovetail into what we just talked about, which is being consistent. So I've planned ahead. Now I'm going to need to actually do those things that I planned. And if I do, that's when magic starts to happen. I call it. That's when things that are things you can't count on, things you don't see, either on things that kind of go wrong, but also things that show up that you thought, whoa, and that might be the manifestation kind of part of things, where somebody just happened to be in the right place at the right time when you were there because you had planned to be there.
I say, right place, right time.
Part of that for me was going out to do plein air painting recently, where I went out, and by being out there and I was on time with my own schedule and my own thing, and I showed up and I had, I think, just a good milieu about myself. It showed. And so all of a sudden, all of these people came out, and I had probably added 5 or 6 people to my email list that day, but that wouldn't have happened if I didn't plan it and if I didn't execute it. So it's pretty amazing. And I think things snowball. Things kind of can snowball and really get momentum going. So it's exciting.
Okay. So we talked about mindset, putting in the work, and planning your time to make sure that work happens. Okay. So what was the third lever for you?
Great question. So I think that one of the biggest things that contributed was just the messaging that we've been working on. I think that getting those words right and understanding them, and actually when we went through some of the exercises on online and different things that we did, all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, that is me. And that aligns with me and who I am. And that is how I talk about myself, or how I want to talk about myself. And that breeds like clarity. And so now when I speak to people, I talk about the fleeting moments. I talk about the golden hour. I talk about what it is that kind of I work on a daily basis, and it's no longer gobbledygook, you know. And so I think the messaging has helped people understand my perspective. Where am I coming from? But it's also a factor in the confidence building, because you are gravitating towards these words that you know are true and that resonate. And so you can, I've just felt like I've really been able to talk about myself more clearly, been able to articulate what my art's about, and I've felt really good about it. It's kind of owning it. It's part of owning it, and owning who you are and owning why you do what you do.
And it
And
feels authentic to you, like a mirror, not like a
yeah,
mask.
yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you, Miriam, is that it's a very authentic lens. You're a really good feedback, loop for us. I think you give really direct, but really, good, positive support too. But I also think it's like, well, no, that doesn't sound like the Chris that I know. And it's like, yeah, I guess you're right. You kind of called me out on that, and I think you're right. So we had those kind of discussions, and I think that's been really, really helpful. So.
One thing that we really worked a lot this year, Chris, is narrowing your focus. Do you want to share
Yeah.
some of those moments with the listeners?
Yeah, I think that, and a lot of friends would attest to this, and family members. I get excited about a lot of different things, and I tend to think, oh, I can do that too, and I tend to kind of pile on like an ice cream sundae. And I think that, there's in a lot of cases I can do them, but in a lot of cases, no, don't go there. You're watering down what you're offering. You're watering down your approach, and you're not giving yourself enough time to do things properly. And so one of the things that we talked about was, in these different endeavors, I was thinking about doing this and that, a book, and do some videos and all sorts of other stuff. And it was like, no, Chris, it's almost like the movie, what is it, with Will, what's his name?
The human brain is slow and it cannot multitask. At the end of the day, this is a game of focus.
It's all about just focusing. You're here.
Yeah.
You're doing these 2 to 4 things. You're not doing 10 to 20
That's
things.
right.
And you're not adding on top.
And you're
so
not
actually,
alone, because there's actually a lot of artists who think, oh, I need to add income streams. And I remember there was a business coach that I followed. This is going back many, many years, where he or she was like, oh, artists, consider these income streams. I was like, no, we have to consider the one that's working. Like,
right,
because we
right.
always think, oh, if I add on. So the classic mistakes, I'm talking more to the listeners now rather than you, Chris. Like,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of artists who come to me are fine artists, and then they think, oh, I'll add on licensing. Well, licensing is not something you add on. It's a different career. It's a different
Right.
art career. If you're going to add something on, it's going to take away from the first thing. I learned that myself. Like, oh, I'll add on online classes. Well, do you want to make that your entire focus? You will get more here, but less there. One thing also, I had told my team, they had come back to me and says, well, Chris wants to wait till he finishes his book until he comes on the podcast.
Right. And in my mind, the book is all interrelated. But what I started asking myself a question about was like, well, Chris, what does that mean? And if you sign yourself up for this, what does that mean on a daily basis? What does that mean to your audience? What does that mean to, and are you shortchanging yourself? And maybe you want to do a book, but maybe it's later. And just like doing brushstrokes and getting to a certain level of competency in my artwork, that came through repetition and practice.
Practice, practice, practice.
And as I did those, brushstroke after brushstroke and brush mileage, I was getting better and better at my craft. Same thing, if I go divert over here or over there, then I'm not doing diligence and giving honor to what are the things that I need to do that are actually going to get me where I want to go. Like, it kind of goes full circle to what we talked about at the beginning,
It
which
does, like planning
is,
your time and doing it. So what I told Addie was, well, just tell Chris that when he finishes his book, he can come back a second time. Like, what really stood out there? Chris realizing that chasing too many things diluted his impact, and that real growth came from focusing on what actually sells and speaks to his collectors. Now, if you've been feeling pulled in too many different directions or wondering which of your pieces belong in your portfolio, your Instagram, or maybe even your pitches, I created something just for you. It's a free guide called 7 Reasons Why Your Art Isn't Selling, and it's designed to help you stop second guessing, refine your voice, and align your art with what actually motivates people to buy. Now, whether you're already selling or just starting out, this guide will help you get clear on what to create more of and what to let go of. Go to schulmanart.com/shine. That's schulmanart.com/shine. And now let's get back to the show. Chris, what would you like to go back if you could and tell your younger self?
Boy, the biggest thing is you can do it. You're an artist, and just own yourself and just be yourself. Just be true to who you are. Be true to, what you're passionate about. If it's passion to profit, it's just own what you're really passionate about and put time and energy into that, because if you really put the time and energy into what you love, you'll be good at it. And if you're good at it, it will again snowball to be something that people will take notice of, and you'll start making sales, and it'll keep going and going and going. So I think the key is just be yourself, kind of own yourself, own what it is that you love to do. And I think there's something too, what do you truly love to do? And dive deeply into that, because I think that's what some of the best, from O'Keeffe to Picasso, is they really dove into things that they loved. And because of that, they explored new avenues, whole new worlds, that we didn't even know about. And that's where everybody goes, well, wait, look at what she's doing. Look at what he's doing. I mean, it's just amazing. So yeah, own yourself, Chris. Just be true to yourself and stay focused, and it'll build over time incrementally. Just trust the process and trust that it will build over time.
One thing that Chris is a great example of is you not only did you join the accountability group, but you were the leader of that. And I think you benefited from that as much as everybody in your pod did, that your generosity came back to you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say so. And it helped me gain confidence as well. I think that the consistency of them kept coming back, and they kept giving me feedback, and it gave me confidence. It's, amazing, unexpected, really.
Wonderful. All right. If artists want to check out your work, where can they find you on Instagram?
You would go to Chris Holt Studio. And that's also my website. So chrisholtstudio.com.
And it's CHRISHOLT studio.com, or find him on Instagram and let him know how much you like the show. If you really are feeling super generous and you want to share this with an artist friend, take a screenshot and you can tag us in it at Chris Holt Studio and at Schulman Art. All right, my friend, thank you so much for joining me here today. I'll see you the same place, same time next week. Until then, stay inspired. Bye for now.